This month's Tenant Talk Live will be centered on a journey of resiliency and advocacy by our lovely tenant advocate, Monica DeLancy in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, if you're newer and you haven't been on a Tenant Talk Live call before, this is where we provide opportunities for tenants across the country to connect not just with NLIHC, but also with each other, share best practices, learn how to be more involved in federal housing policies and how to lead in their communities as well. And for folks who might not know who Monica DeLancy is, we'll be inviting her to speak in just a little bit, but just to give you a brief introduction to her, she is the volunteer executive director of We Thrive on Riverside Renters Association, and she has done like a lot of really good work around renters' rights and championing equitable policies around sustainable community development. So she'll share a little bit more about her journey later this call. But for right now, I'll just do some quick NLIHC updates, beginning with our community agreements conversation, which we had last month. So thank you everyone who participated in our community agreements conversation of 2025. I'll share them on the screen so that you can see them. And since Monica is our lovely guest for today, I'll have her share the first community agreement, and then I'll have her popcorn it off to others for y'all to read it.
Okay, thank you. So we have here the community agreements for 2025. Number 1, the platinum rule, treating others the way they want to be treated. In other words, please consider how others want to be treated and how that might differ from how you want to be treated. This rule differs from others because it rejects the idea that reciprocity is the norm and favors empathy and grace instead. It encourages participants to build connections and understand each other's preferences. Now, I would like for someone else to do it, and I don't want to put him out on the spot, but I guess we're going to popcorn it. And I see Nikki Wilkinson.
Hello, how are you this evening?
Hi, Nikki. Can you see number 2 on the screen, or is it too small?
It looks small, but I'm going to give it a try.
Okay, thank you.
We show respect to others by being considerate of our interactions and accountable for our actions.
Thank you, Nikki. And can you pass
You're
it
welcome.
to someone to say number 3, please?
Let's see. Somebody, I guess, in the chat. Who's in Houston? Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Jennifer. Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. Passing it to you.
Okay. Let's see. We take up space and remember to give space to others. That's where I'm starting. I'm sorry, I was texting somebody. My boss needed something. I'm sorry, you guys.
It's number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
We listen actively with an open mind and empathy. We listen with the intent to learn something of value from those who are sharing. We are as attentive to and present with each other as possible.
Amazing. Thank you. And then can you popcorn it to someone for the last one?
Let's see. New York City. Okay. New York City. Jackie from New York City. Did she talk to you?
Yes, sure. Yes. Number 4.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yes,
How about New Mexico?
From New York, yes. 4. We take up space and remember to give space to others. To ensure everyone feels empowered to contribute to the conversations. This includes muting your microphone when others are speaking.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. And then I just realized there was a typo right here, so I'll note that for myself for next time. But thank you, everybody, for reading those agreements. Again, if you have any feedback that you want to contribute that you weren't able to attend last time, feel free to email me and we'll drop like the community agreements in the chat too, so you can reference them at any time. And then for folks who might not be subscribed to our emails, we'll drop a link to subscribe in the chat. That's how you'll be receiving the follow-up material, which will be sent out this Friday at February 7th, usually around 1 p.m., I think. And the email will be called The Connection, and there will be an article in there that has the recap materials for Tenant Talk Live. If you want to view the recap materials for January's call, we'll also have that link in the chat for you. And then lastly, some logistics. Again, please just make sure that if you have any questions to drop them in the chat. And then we also just ask that you stay muted if you're not speaking. And if you don't catch us saying like, please mute yourself, we'll probably mute you on our own, and we hope you don't take offense to that, but we just want to make sure that you're not interrupting any of the speakers. But with that, we'll start off today's call by giving you a quick chance to connect with one another. The folks who really participated in the survey last year really wanted to make sure that we provided a chance for you all to create relationships with one another in this community. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes to do that. And we're going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves, but we'll also give you 2 prompts. You can answer either prompt, but the first prompt will be, we're like in 1 month into 2025, and I know a lot has happened, and I feel like we can't ignore that. There's been a lot happening, so just sharing how you're doing. And then the second one, again, is tied to Black History Month, which started a few days ago. So if you want to like identify a trailblazer in Black history that has had like a personal impact on you, you can share more about that. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms in groups of 5, and we just dropped those prompts in the chat, so you can reference to the chat to if you have questions about what to talk about in those groups. But we'll see you in 10 minutes. Just so that we make sure we stay on time, I'm going to go ahead and move it forward to our speaker for today, Monica DeLancy. You can turn it over to you. Let me know if you need any tech help.
Okay, thank you. And I was listening to all of the good feedback. Everybody was sharing, and definitely just like Yolanda said, that people are going to be rising up. That's what's going to happen. But thank you, Sydney, for allowing for me to speak today. Thanks for allowing for me to share. And this is going to be an abbreviated version because you only gave me 15 minutes. So it's going to be abbreviated. But again, my name is Monica DeLancy. I'm going to share my perspective as a renter reside in the Metro Atlanta area. I'm going to give a report from ground zero, and definitely is going to be sharing some brutal truths, as well as letting people know that we are not alone, and it's okay. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel ashamed, but we are not alone. So I'm definitely going to be sharing. So let me begin. All right. So basically, I moved to the Metro Atlanta area, Cobb County, Georgia, 17 years ago. At the time, my daughter was 7 and my son was 5. And what I'll be sharing is some core points of how I was able to be connected to the community. And core points I want to speak about is stability, being consistent, definitely being transparent, collaboration, and being open to opportunity for continued growth in order to thrive. So definitely started the process of being connected to Cobb County. Most of the people might know it as Six Flags area because that's what Six Flags is located. It's not in the city of Atlanta. It is in Cobb County. Six Flags over Georgia in Cobb County. But definitely Kingsley Village became my home for many years. December 2007. So that area we're going to call the Ground Zero area. Six Flags Drive was the original name, and then they changed it to Riverside Parkway to get a different branding per se. So We branded the area. We thrive on Riverside Parkway. All right. So, community mapping of the Six Flags area. Home to Six Flags over Georgia. The biggest money maker for the whole Georgia is in our backyard. Then also in a 3-mile radius, you have 18 multi-family apartment complexes. You have mobile homes and subdivisions that are highly rented. The school's transit rate is 40%. That's for the average amount for the school transit rate. Remember, I'm talking before COVID. I'm not talking about during COVID, and now we're going to get some new numbers after COVID, okay? But before COVID, the school transit rate was 40%. That means people always moving. The average number of years a child stayed in elementary school was about 2 years before they moved, right? And then for the community, people that didn't have any children, that rate was 60%. In the area, again, 3-mile radius with Six Flags over Georgia being the foundation for the area, there's no public housing. And so when you think about public housing, you know that people are not going to be moving all the time, right? But there's no public housing in the area. The closest thing to public housing is people receiving Section 8 vouchers, or we know them as housing choice vouchers, but that's less than 10% of renters that receive vouchers. I believe the last numbers we received for Cobb County was less than 3,000 people receive vouchers, Section 8 vouchers. That's for entire Cobb County. And Cobb County, the numbers, they said at least 80,000 households would qualify, but only less than 3,000 people receive it, right? Again, we're talking about the Riverside community, Six Flags community. Before COVID, again, I'm using before COVID data because you know this data from after COVID is going to be still in recovery mode. But before COVID, 90% of the school-age children relied on free or reduced lunch. Okay, and then 70% of households relied on some type of government subsidy, whether it was NLIHC, which is everybody know as utility bill assistance, whether your household received SSI, households received SSDI, households that received food stamp SNAP benefits, households that receive veterans benefits, that's a government subsidy, households that did receive some type of federal subsidy, whether it be rapid rehousing, tenant-based rental assistance, those are federal subsidies. And then also, again, when you say that 90% of your school-age children receive either free or reduced lunch, that is a government subsidy. So when you look at those numbers, we're talking about that community, 70% of the households rely on some type of government subsidy. All right. So why do people find themselves attracted to the Six Flags area, home to known as Mapleton now, because we just became a city, 80,000 people live in the city of Mapleton. So how do people find themselves to Six Flags area? Well, again, the proximity it is to I-20, okay? The apartment complex, when you say you have 18 apartment complexes located in a 3-mile radius, there's a lot of flexibility on application guidelines. And what I mean about that means that this, again, I'm talking before COVID, so follow me. That means that when people are looking for places to live, sometimes apartment complex was not as strict. Sometimes apartment complexes understood that maybe you were in between careers, right? They were not doing that. You had to make 3 times the rent in order to rent an apartment. And then another thing that attracted people to the area, to the area, if you're a renter, there are a lot of older apartments who would promote themselves being able to capture some of those motel to home assistance, the tenant-based rental assistance, the rapid rehousing assistance, the emergency assistance funds, right? The rent was manageable. Now, we're not saying affordable, because what's affordable to some people may not be affordable to everybody. But you're talking about, again, 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartments were running about $700 a month. So that was manageable for people, especially if you were working retail type jobs, if you were in between jobs, $700 was manageable, okay? Another thing to consider, it was 15 minutes from downtown Atlanta, 15 minutes downtown Atlanta. People had access to gainful employment. If you did not work in Atlanta, if you decided to work in Cobb County, you got to be employed with Cobb County School District, Wellstar Hospital, Six Flags Over Georgia, Home Depot. And then also too, because of the proximity is to I-20, there are a number of warehouses. And just so happened about 8 years ago, Federal Express relocates the area because of the proximity to I-20. So being able to be close to the interstate will generate a lot of people moving to the area. Now, I want to talk about, again, little blending in my situation. No, I did not receive no subsidies, okay? No, I did not have any family members nearby. And I didn't even start working outside of the home until 7 years after residing in the area. And I became employed with Cobb County School District as a parent resource specialist because it got word they liked what I was doing in the community. But let me just stick a pin right here for a minute to speak on that. When you are deciding to move to any area, you need to consider the fact that, especially of children, do you have any family that can help you, right? Especially of children, because children need all types of emotional support. They just don't need financial support, okay? Other things to consider is, do you want to live in an area, when we talk about these apartment complexes, that are only written to people who they know that they can take some of these rapid rehousing funds or these tenant-based rental assistance funds, right? Because these were the conversations I would have with people when they were telling me they were moving, well, because they were not receiving any funds anymore. So therefore, this is why they were moving. I'm trying to figure out, okay, because of some of the other good things that's going on for the area, such as being close to the I-20, close to gainful employment, being able to manage rent $700, you're thinking, okay, now that you don't have any reparatory housing funds, or you don't have the tenant-based rental assistance funds, how could you not afford rent? But in some cases, everybody could not. So these were conversations I was having with people. Also wanted, thank you. All right, so we're talking about the apartment complexes. Let me talk to you and share with you some of the income that apartment complexes collect. And this is just me paraphrasing. So if one apartment complex has 200 units, right? 30 units may receive Section 8 funds. That's guaranteed rent. So if the average rent they're receiving is $1,000 for a subsidy, having a housing choice voucher, that's guaranteed $30,000 a month that apartment complex receiving. So you're thinking about, well, $30,000, maybe half is used to pay back the monthly mortgage or whatever. You're thinking that they probably have 2 main time staff members, so they're getting about each about $4,000 each. So that puts you at about 40,000. Not 40,000, I'm sorry, puts you at 22,000. Again, I'm talking about monthly. Then of course you might have your maintenance people. You have 2 maintenance people, so that's another $5,000 or $6,000 a month. All right, so that's guaranteed out of that $30,000 that they take care of their overhead. They're taking care of your shelter. They're taking care of their payroll. So the other amounts they're collecting from the 10 tenant-based rental assistance funds, the rapid rehousing funds, and you have 75 apartment complexes, that's all what we call gravy on top. So why is it that you have apartment complexes that's collecting this amount of money, not able to keep their apartments up? They cannot maintain upkeep. They're refusing to offer lease renewal rewards. And what is that? When you sign your release, sometimes if other apartment complexes, you go and visit other apartment complexes, they get a chance to get new paint, fresh paint, free carpet clean if you have carpet in your home, new blinds, right? Those are what you call rewards, okay? And then you have apartment complexes that offer resident activities. So again, when you're speaking about communities, and that we're making our way around the community, make our way around the apartment complexes in the area, and sharing with neighbors, these are some of the things, the concerns we're hearing. And you're going to hear these things, especially you being in the area for long term, because definitely when you start to see apartment complexes looking like this, but still they have occupancy rate at 90%, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong. Thank you. Go to the next one. So, again, as I became active in the community, 6-7 years in the community, being able to, I was known as being consistent, attending community civic meetings, going to school meetings, connecting with elected officials, encouraging renters who make up the area, 55% of the area, to have a voice. We Thrive on Riverside Rental Association became more than just a committee. We became more as a group. Also, more people wanted to take part in organized events. And one of the events that we would organize, which was our flagship event, we would do National Night Out Against Crime. And this event is a partnership with the police department, partnership with sheriff department, partnership with other residents in the area. And we would have different events. It would be a kickball game, movie night on the green. It may be a festival where you have the bounce house, of course, or it could be as small as maybe having ice cream social. But every year in the month of August, we would have this event. That became our flagship event. And then also putting out community resource newsletter, sharing resources. All right. So again, as I would go to these meetings, I would hear from other people that's at these meetings, well, why is it that when we have our back to school jam or when they have their turkey giveaway, they have lines and lines of people coming and getting their book bags. They have lines and lines of people coming to get a turkey. But then where are the people coming? I see you shaking your head. Where are the people coming out to be a part of meetings? And I would say, well, do you ask them to be a part of meetings? And that's what was so prevalent about We Thrive on Riverside Rental Association, because I would ask them to be a part, give them a chance to have a voice. And so that's what I wanted to share with that. Transparency. Now, what comes with this? Hosting resident meetings, you're going to get everything. You're going to get, of course, people are getting behind on rent. This, mind you, we're talking about before COVID. Of course, you're going to hear things like, again, the apartment complex are not fixing up their places. And also, the community is changing. So I would come to the meetings and other people come to meetings, but I would talk about the community, how the community is changing. And one of the things that was happening in the area where they were starting to buy up apartment complexes and they were going to start tearing them down. And people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that the apartment complex is going to be bought and so on, torn down. But when you have apartment complexes that are aging, decaying, deteriorating, it's only so much they're able to do but to tear it down. So, of course, I have a wanted Paul Revere. And if people that's my age, you're my age, know who Paul Revere was. Paul Revere was warning people, right? My age, you know that. They're warning people what's about to happen. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear what's about to happen for the community because, of course, they say, well, the prices go up. Well, the prices go up, they have to go up. But at the same time, some things happen to the community. But if you want to be a part of that conversation, you have to go to different meetings. You have to share how you be a part of that conversation. And at this time also, because I had started working, I was able to move to a larger apartment, 3-bedroom apartment, because my young kids were becoming teenagers. They need their own room. Now here I want to share, this is what we're going to call a bingo list, a bingo chart, whatever it's called. But I want to share with you, this right here could be anybody on this call today. But definitely, I collected all these from talking to people over time. Maintaining rent without a subsidy, the rent eats first, okay? The rent eats first. So one of the things I know people are always saying, well, we got to pay the rent because I don't want to go to eviction court. I don't want my stuff outside. Well, let me tell you something. Just by you being late, it might not be your stuff outside, but just by you being late, it is a public knowledge that you are behind on rent. People understand that. So when you're applying for different other apartments, what they will do first, they'll go check a court record. It's public knowledge. It costs no money. All they need is your name. And if you have ever had eviction filed on you because you were late it becomes a public record. Now, yes, you might have gone and paid the rent, and you didn't have to leave, but it still became a public record. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit how you can have that removed. But anyway, sometimes corporate landlords uses eviction court to collect fees, so you can put your little star there. They know they're going to get extra fees from you because you're gonna pay it, but they're going to get an extra $100 out of you, or extra $50, right? When you go to court, mostly Black women are in the courtroom. And some people may not say, well, I've never been evicted, but you probably moved before you got that eviction notice, or before you got the writ of possession, okay? And if you've never been evicted, that's good. I'm glad you haven't. But if you're trying to maintain rent by yourself with no other adults in the home, you're faced with any of these court, maybe. Yes, credit cards can get you in court. Why? Because some credit cards, like Capital One, will file on you and will want to garnish your check. Credit cards does that. Loans, car loans. Again, they want car loans quick. You get behind, your car will be up for repossession. And for your work, your check that's garnished, you have to go to court to fight for that so your check not to be garnished. Traffic tickets. Well, the rent eat first. So that speeding ticket that costs $100 might not be paid because you have to pay rent. So again, traffic courts can have you in criminal court. No insurance on your car. Again, you're getting tickets for no insurance, but again, because that rent is eaten first. So basically, no insurance can get you in criminal court. Retail theft, lease theft. People understand that when you go to errands or those rental center places and you lease their furniture, you don't pay them. In the state of Georgia, they file criminal charges. In other states, it's a civil case, but state of Georgia, and because, let me tell you guys something, everything's connected. It's a law that they still allow for it to happen. They can, your elected officials can change that, but they still allow for that. So as a Black woman, not only can you're going to court for being evicted, you're going to court for missing a payment on your furniture bill. So for you not to go to court, you have to make sure you stay on top of that or buy your furniture outright. Don't get involved with that. Federal court. How you end up in federal court? Well, pretty much if you're being filed eviction on, lawyers would send you mail saying, hey, slow down your eviction, file bankruptcy, or you have to file bankruptcy in order for them not to garnish your check. So that's how you end up in federal court for bankruptcy. Some cases, especially for mortgage, you're able to do repayment plans by filing bankruptcy. And also you want to stop your garnishment. You have to go to federal court for that. The rent eats first. You might not be taking care. You have to make sure you're taking care of your health, taking care of your children's health, making sure you have self-care. Employment, making sure you have gainful employment, not just employment just to pay the rent. You have to make sure in order you have employment to pay rent, transportation, enrichment programs. So basically, in order to have that, you have to have some type of skills, preferably a college degree, but if not, certification. Because if you do not have no rent subsidy, you're going to be subjected to paying your full month rent. That's just how it's going to be. Now, what happens when you just make barely enough? You end up falling off what we call the benefit cliff, right? You make $1 too much, you don't get food stamps anymore. You make $1 too much, that program that might help you with your rent will say, well, you're working, you can't get help with your rent, right? You have a job now, so therefore your kids not able to get free reduced lunch. So you're paying $30 a week on lunch. That benefits cliff fall off. And again, the benefit cliff fall off can be you no longer have free health care because you have a job. So now you take your kids to doctors. You want the doctor, it's $25 every time you go. All right. And also you have to learn to navigate some other resources that may be open to you having a job, having a career. And you have to learn that. You have to learn that. What's being part of civic engagement? What does that mean? That means going to different meetings at schools, in the community, zoning. And let me talk a little bit about the zoning. I have to have this about the zoning. You wonder why certain areas only attract certain demographics, right? And why other areas attract certain demographics. Well, it comes down to zoning. And let me just say this again, I'm giving the brutal truth. Some areas are zoned not to have multi-family housing. So that keeps certain type of demographics out of the area. When they say no apartments allowed, who normally rents apartments? People of color. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm giving the brutal truth. That's what happens. So when people are saying, well, why can't they go to their child want to go to a certain school have an A average. Well, if you look at some of the zoning, that school that has an A average have less than 5% of rental property in that area. Less than 5%. All tied to schools. And then also too, when you think about civic engagement, as you go into the different meetings, you get to know the elected officials. Elected officials know you. So basically, when you're having issues or you want to share your ideas, it's good to know elected officials. And I don't know how many times I receive calls from different people from different counties, and they want to know about resources. And I say, "Do you know your elected official?" They say no. And I said, "Start there." I show them how to start there to find a resource in their county by connecting with their elected official. So this is your bingo card. Some people's cards are blacked out. We thrive in Riverside Rental Association.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna give you like a 5-minute warning, but everybody's loving on your presentation right now in the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, it's almost over with. I'm glad. Thank you though, Miss Sydney. All right. So we thrive in Riverside Rental Association. Again, it's momentum building now. I'm 12 years in now, momentum building. Increase awareness, hosting community town hall meetings. My children participating in not only research activities, but sharing with others. Partner with Sting Inc. for college tours. SCLC, partner with them for more civic engagement. Also, let me tell you about partnership, collaboration. When you are too tired and you only can do so much, it's great to have a team in place. Because that's why the Super Bowl, you don't have just a quarterback going to the Super Bowl. You got the quarterback, the kicker, the offense. I mean, each team have about 40 people on the team. So therefore, how can we get to have 40 people on our team? Well, it's hard to do that if people are moving every other year. So that's why we Thrive Riverside Rental Association partner with other organizations that's more stable than us. So they'll know that, hey, if you can't go there, we'll go there. Because what happens is communities, let me tell y'all something. Communities like us, they have people come and go, but they fail to collaborate. So if you leave, you have to take a break or take a rest. Somebody else can go in and stand in place. It's important to having a team. Again, these organizations will help with assisting residents with the maintenance concerns, big concerns. I'm telling you, you complain about something, these corporate landlords will find a reason to not renew your lease because they're upset that you're complaining about what's going on. And it takes a lot of time and money to fight those cases, and everybody can't do it. Everybody can't do that. Again, we Thrive Riverside Rental Association began to have community recognition, provide scholarships, and also enrichment activities, help navigate resources, and we're 100% volunteers. All right. So that brings me to a point that turned to be one of the most speaking points, and this is right before COVID now, right before COVID. But again, evictions do happen. And even when you're going to court, they can still happen. And let me tell you, in my case, I had a forced eviction happen to me Christmas time, December 2019. And this came about that I never received the paper. And let me tell you, I go to court every other month. And people know I don't mind going to court. And the judges know this. So for me to miss that paper, somebody should alert me. But anyway, this is why I share with people all the time. I don't care how many calls I received in the past 3 weeks. People have said they never received their papers to go to court. I say, you better call this number. Because sometimes the papers, they'll fly off your door. Sometimes people take it off your door. In my case, it was mailed at the wrong address. It was mailed at the wrong address. So anyway, you cannot talk and try to debate this when the sheriff is at your door. The only thing you can do is gather your belongings and say, hey, it is what it is. And it's a learning. You're human. You're human. You're human. It's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about, because just because I had a forced eviction, like I said, evictions come in all phases. People have evictions by just being late. People have evictions just not knowing. But let me tell you something. If you're a Black woman without any type of subsidies, somebody's wearing what we call a letter E on their chest, and it's okay. Do not be ashamed or embarrassed by it. But what I found out that the allies who I was working with and attending meetings with were the biggest ones that was ridiculing me. I didn't understand that at all. My biggest support came from strangers. We did not let that deter us. My daughter still ended up graduating from college, and she just recently graduated, getting her master's in college, a master's, but she graduated from college in 2022. She just got her master's 2024. And my son completed his high school, graduated high school. But the evictions caused stress. All right, the next one. Now, COVID-19 happened. And when COVID-19, we didn't know COVID-19 was coming right after that. And when COVID-19 happened, oh my, we were being called and asked to do interviews here, interviews there, because we had already set a precedent of us being vocal before COVID. We were already talking about how Black women were facing eviction. We were already passing House Bill 346, which stated when people complain, they should not be retaliated against. We were already doing these things. So when I got the call from Oprah Winfrey, oh my, I did not know that she had seen the story on CNN about the work we were doing in the community. And when she saw the work in the community, she had a lawyer call me. I didn't know who I was talking to, but the lawyer called me, and the lawyer shared with me about about policies. That's what the lawyer is talking about, policies. And I didn't know it was a lawyer until she told me to send her email. And when she said send an email, send it to blase at OWC, like Winfrey. I said, okay. And then the next day she called, she said, hey, this is so-and-so. I am a lawyer for Oprah Winfrey. And I know it's from your email. You did not know who you was talking to. I didn't. It was so much work that had to be done that I didn't know who I was talking to. But anyway, we were able to not only help out people at that time with rental assistance, but also we created our civic engagement ambassadors program, which is thriving now. It's continuing to be thriving because that's most important. What I'm finding out is that people need to know how to navigate. They need to know how to advocate. And if you show people how to do those things, they'll do it for themselves, okay? And we was able to build what's called social capital. And what is social capital? When you don't have the funds, you have people behind you, people power. And just in that case, social capital almost was elected me to office. In 2022, I ran for state representative of Cobb County. I won the first go round. I had nothing but the filing fee, $500. That's all I had. But I beat 5 people out by 100 votes because of social capital. People knew my work. They knew me. They didn't care about all the naysayers. They didn't care about the people who were being ruled and stereotyping. They knew the work. They knew the value. And then again, now I'm telling you, I don't spend my money on buying signs because it has to go to the people. I ran for Mapleton City Council, only lost by 33 votes. But a business owner set me down. He told me, he said, Monica, you know what? Everybody has a place. And he said to me, he said, you're needed in the community. He said, you didn't lose those elections. Now even more people know how valued they are. And they need to know they have to rise up. We're getting more people up. So it's okay. So I can be of an advocate, more of an advocate. We show people how to advocate in court. When people go to court now, let me tell you this. Let me stop here. Now, Cobb County spends money on lawyers for people. Before that, we wasn't going to these meetings sharing that, they would have never have invested in lawyers to represent people. And they created an office. They created an office. Legal aid created an office on the 3rd floor at the magistrate court. They didn't have that before COVID. They didn't have that before. People said they don't know what to do when they go to court. They're so embarrassed. They don't know what to do. They feel intimidated. So now they have access to lawyers. And that's a great thing that came out of that as well. How to advocate in court. So when you go to court, you're not just saying, give me 7 days. You're asking questions. You're negotiating. In some cases, people are getting payment plans. All right. Over time, in 17 years in Cobb County and more to come, well, we've earned 28 awards. I didn't know I was going to do that when I moved to Six Flags area December 2007. I did not know I was going to be awarded the Martin Luther King Living the Dream Award. I did not know I was going to be honored by the Omega Psi Phi. I did not know I was going to be honored from the schools giving me the parent leadership awards. But that's what happened when you're being consistent, when they know that you really care about the community. In addition to that, We Thrive Riverside Renters Association have been awarded 10 grants, which goes to programs. Like I said, there's no salaries. Nobody received any income or salaries from We Thrive Riverside Renters Association. And so from this experience, from my journey, and more to come, what I've learned and what I've heard from others, that merging households will be the key. That will be the key for strengthening communities, strengthening building up confidence for our kids, merging households, family support, any community, not just the Atlanta area, but any community, to understand of connecting with family, having family to help you, or you help the family out. But or you create a fictive family, but you're gonna need some type of family. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed by what you've been through. Do not, because everybody's been through something. And the work continues, and we want you to stay thriving and let you know that we are here together. Thank you so much for letting me share. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. And we're getting very close to the end of the hour. So I'll take the questions that we have in the chat right now, and I'll forward them to you, Monica, and we'll include them in the follow-up email. But I did want to at least ask one question, and I think the first one I saw came from Chandra. When you first started interacting with local government, did you intend in person or virtually, or did you write in? And did you feel like you got positive responses and feedback, or did it take a while for that?
That's a great question. Remember, we started before COVID. So we was going in person, right? We were started before COVID. And I'm glad, not glad COVID happened, but for some of my people that didn't have cars or they couldn't travel as much, it was great to have things done virtually. But definitely we were speaking with elected officials at the civic engagement meetings, right? There would be 10 people in the meetings, and then we'll have the commissioner there, right? It would be 5 people in the meeting. Your school board representative would be there. But let me tell you something. Then it became one of my biggest advocates, biggest supporters is Alicia Thomas Cersei. I knew her baby was a baby in stroke. She probably graduated this year. But we started those connections early. And so these people's phone numbers are in my phone. The elected officials' phone numbers in my phone. And so when they see an email from me, they responded right away because they know it's the truth. And when they hear anything that's supposed to be negative, they're going to be like, no, we're going to rethink that. But definitely setting up these procedures and putting them in place early on, not being proactive, not reactive, if I can say that. And like I tell people, we was getting all excited about going to vote for the president. The president don't have your phone number in their phone. The president can respond to you. It's your local elected official, and that's what matters the most. But thank you that's a great question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. And again, I'm sorry I didn't get to all of the questions, but I did save the chat, so we'll include the answers to those in the follow-up email, and I'll make sure to send them to you tomorrow, Monica. But yeah, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, everybody, and it's good to see everybody. And keep praying for everybody, please. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'll do just some last minute reminders for folks who can stay on for a little bit. I think Monica just dropped her email in the chat. But again, if y'all have any questions or want to provide future feedback, you're always welcome to email me, and I'll drop my email in the chat shortly. And then our next Tenant Talk Live will be on March 3rd, so a month from today, and you can register for that in the link in the chat as well. And then as always, we're always looking for blog post authors for our On the Homefront blog. So if you have any questions on participating, we also provide honorariums for writing. You can just share your story or any advocacy story that you'd want to share. If you're interested, you can email outreach@nlihc.org. And also don't forget to join our Tenant Talk Facebook page. And yeah, we'll make sure to include all of that information in the follow-up email too. But thank you everybody for joining February's Tenant Talk Live, and we'll see you in March.